On tonight's episode of the CHGO Cubs related podcast, the Cubs drop 2 of 3 with the Mets, and there is just one more series to go before it is time for playoff baseball and the Chicago Cubs. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Cade Horton updates and more on tonight's edition of the CHGO Cubs related podcast. This is the CHGO Cubs related podcast driven by Toyota. Let's go places and bet 365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use code CHGO365 at sign up. Hello, everybody. My name is Corey. I am joined as always by Brendan. We are coming to you on Thursday. It is September 25th. And Brendan, we have but one series to go. 3 with the Cardinals at Wrigley Field, and then it is time for the postseason. And unlike the last several years, Brendan, we don't have to close up shop after Sunday. We have more work to do here.
There you go. I was thinking the other day, season started in mid-March. It's been over 6 months following this team, day in, day out. Eli Morgan was in her opening bullpen. Nate Pearson was in their opening day bullpen. It's been a wild season, and it feels like in some respect, it's been a tale of 2 seasons.
Certainly, yeah. And we have a lot to talk about in this episode. We want to talk about this series with the Mets. I think in particular, some of the pitching performances that we saw is that obviously is relevant for next week. We are going to start after our little general intro here with the Cade Horton stuff, because I want to set the table here. If you are listening to this on Friday morning, watching this on Friday morning, more updates to come. So keep your eyes peeled on the CHGO Cubs Twitter handle, your favorite beat reporter, et cetera, because the news is not done there. And it's definitely a glass half full, glass half empty situation. Beauty in the eye of the beholder. But generally, Brendan, I think a lot of us, obviously hoping the Cubs can lock up home field here. That is definitely important. You want to be playing at home. You want to be playing at Wrigley Field. So that is still on the table, but certainly looking likely that at the very least it will be the Cubs and the Padres, depending on where they play, given how these final few games go for each team. And, then just an exercise in getting everybody healthy. So it was nice in a couple of these games against the Mets, Brendan, to see some runs come across the board. It's not necessarily something we had seen a ton of. Seiya Suzuki hitting some home runs. Nice to see just before we get to the playoffs here. Overall, though, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's losing sleep over not winning these 3 with the Mets. But, we do continue that trend of, this team not exactly playing their best brand of baseball as we get ready to wrap up the season and play games that really matter.
Those trends are relevant, of course, for the playoffs, more so impactful for the 2026 outlook. We keep saying this, and I know it's annoying. I fully understand this, but in a 2-3 game scenario in the playoffs, really anything can happen. I mean, say Suzuki hit 2 home runs in that last game. He had no home runs the past 2 months. Shota Imanaga gave up several deep fly balls, over 10 balls hit over 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Anything can go. Matthew Boyd had a great start in the previous day. So many weird things can happen once you get to this point. But like you, I wish they were playing a more inspired brand of baseball. I'm more fed up or concerned, if you want to call it that, just at Kyle Tucker's potential health or Cade Horton's rib injury or say Suzuki recovering from his illness, which we did see good signs today. But those are the most pressing issues for me.
Yeah, I think ultimately, you and I have talked about this at length over the last few weeks. it all resets, and that's not to wash away the last few weeks, especially, and how this team has looked and some of the offensive struggles and this, that, or the other. But, look, ultimately it's going to come down to 2 or 3 games against a very good Padres team, and they're feeling the same about the Cubs. And it would be very unlikely if every single trend we've watched for the last 2 months is also how those games play out.
And a lot of it's almost like a regional bias. In San Diego, they're underperforming from the fans' perspective too.
They're going to
You
lose
go,
the NL West again.
That's right. You go to their Fangraphs page, you start sorting by offensive producers. Entering Tuesday, or rather Wednesday, they did not have one batter over a 350 weighted on base average. Tatis was underperforming. Machado was underperforming. And a lot of the discourse about our offensive struggles, they're sharing similar discourse.
Sure.
Now, granted, Tatis has been performing better this month. He has 5 home runs. You're seeing Jackson Merrill start to have more of that boom that he showed in September that he had in 2024. So they're kind of emerging out of it. But a lot of these teams, even the Dodgers, the Phillies lost Zach Wheeler. A lot of these teams are going through similar work.
Dodgers aren't even a top 2 team in the league. Yeah.
So paint a rosy picture.
Yeah, no. And it's not to suggest that, it's all optimism. Like, we're watching this team struggle to score runs at points as well. We're watching a lot of these guys go through funks. And
I wouldn't
certainly,
even know if I would call the Seiya thing a funk at this point. I mean, it was over 200 plate appearances. It does change how you project Seiya.
oh yeah, no, I was talking about some other guys.
Right.
He's been in funk is not the right word.
I mean,
yeah.
quite frankly, I'm like astonished how bad it's been for Seiya.
It's really gotten bad.
Gotten
but
bad.
again, look, like, we did see some things in this series, like Seiya can have a game like he did on Thursday, hitting a couple homers, like running into them, and really impact a game. We saw PCA with multiple plays in this series that we've described. Even if he is not hitting the ball out of the ballpark and like the main driver on offense, forcing throws when he's on the base paths, using his speed to get on base with errors or, just slow defensive plays. The catch he made on the Juan Soto ball to right center field tonight, like, that's the type of thing in October. It's a massive, massive thing. So we did see some of that stuff, but yes, certainly. Like, I don't think you guys need me to say this, but like, you wake up at 5 a.m. in mid-March to watch the team play in Japan. You don't really draw it up that 3 days before the playoffs, the big superstar that they traded for, who was a top 3 MVP candidate probably for the first 3 months of the season, hopefully he's okay.
On
right?
top of that, your National League Rookie of the Year, one of the best ERAs in second half, Cade Horton. We don't know if he's pitching next week.
And like the other 2 tops of your rotations easily pitching their worst baseball of the year right now.
By no means is this a rosy, optimistic scenario.
This is certainly not how you draw this up. And Kyle Tucker, was taking swings. Hopefully he's going to be in there tomorrow. And, we talked about it last week. Like, even if he can just be in there as a DH, just his presence in that lineup, it matters a big deal. So hopefully that is at least progressing. But yeah, like, of course, this is not at all an ideal situation. Your closer, who appears to be back now, just had a shoulder injury a week ago. Your top 2 starters are in perhaps the worst stretches that they've been in all season.
Isn't baseball fantastic?
You're like ace rookie who's putting up like unprecedented second half numbers now has this like ambiguous like back rib problem that maybe he's good to go. Let's get into that now before we hit our bed. So it's all to say, like, of course it is not a rosy picture, but that's, welcome to the playoffs. Like, you strap it on and go, like they were saying in 2020. Like, whoever's ready, whoever's healthy, like, they're gonna go, and all they have to do is win 2 games to advance. So we'll see what happens. We're gonna get into like Shota tonight and how they're going to line up the rotation, et cetera, et cetera. But I do want to talk about Cade Horton. So Cade Horton obviously leaves his last start early. A lot of, people wondering what that was about. Then we hear that it's like something with his back. He probably could have finished the game if it was the playoffs, was kind of the language going around. And now it was weird, Brendan. On Thursday morning, the vibe was bad. There was a lot of silence. There was some not reports from some journalists, which is my least favorite thing, perhaps.
If you're going to report something,
don't
report
speculate on people's injury news. It's the
Is Ian Happ still on the injured list, by the way?
It's all the same guy, too.
Oh, God.
Like, anyway, the worldwide leader in sports. But it had a bad vibe. And then you were getting some of those not reports like, it doesn't sound good. There's a weird energy, blah, blah, blah. But the update, it's kind of up to you how you want to take this. And it is not finished yet. So Cade Horton is on schedule to throw tomorrow. He is also going to get a second opinion from a different physician. They were looking at the MRI and they're looking at something in the back and in his ribs and trying to figure out, quote, an area of concern in the rib area. Reading this from, some of the beat writers, Saadav Sharma, Megan Montemuro. So that's where the Andy Martinez from Marquee.
Great beats.
Craig Counsell said Cade Horton is still on track, and Horton is adamant and optimistic that he can pitch and take the ball in the wild card series. And reading this one in full from Megan Montemuro regarding Cade Horton's MRI, there is an area of concern in his ribs that Counsell said the Cubs are going to continue to get more information on and see where it leads us. He added that right now, Horton is a go for the playoffs as they gather info in the coming days, but he will throw tomorrow and we will get further update there. So, like I said, take that however you want. My initial reaction, Brendan, is that, of course, we spend all season once he's coming up and making his debut, asking questions like, will he be on a pitch count? How many starts will he make? Will his arm hold up? Will they pay attention to his shoulder and his arm? And, because of his injury history, things like that. And it's none of those things that we're talking about right now. It's this new back rib thing that potentially would keep him out. So that's just how this goes. Sometimes you sort of think we anticipated having sort of this exact conversation, Brendan, but just not for this particular issue. This is, of course, some random thing that has popped up. So my initial reaction is like, of course, you don't want to be dealing with this. In a short series, the way that Cade Horton was pitching is perhaps one of the biggest pendulum swingers I think that you can have. A guy that is pitching at that level to be able to go out there and get, even if it was 4 or 5 innings from him, depending on, the pitch count and all that other stuff, you'd hope those would be really valuable innings. You think Jake Arrieta in the 2015 wildcard game, being able to deploy someone pitching at that level is an extreme advantage when you've got them hot and when you've got them going right. Given this, though, I'm glad because this morning I was preparing for him not to pitch in this wildcard series. So we have to see him throw tomorrow. They're going to get that second opinion, and that can always still come back negative. And it could be something small where they say, hey, look, he should take the week off, right? Unfortunately, that would be too long unless they advance, but you just never know. So keep updated, keep checking, what the updates are. So in that regard, I'm pleased. I guess I'm optimistic because I was sort of staring down the darker version of the path. But the broader thing is, as we talked about, Brendan, 3 days before the playoffs start, this guy's been on an electric run. They are right at the finish line of getting him there and getting him pitching meaningful baseball in October. And now there's a pretty big question mark. And you don't have to think about this now, but given that he may be dealing with something, even if he wants to go and they want him to go, no matter what, you're going to have to worry, what about the long term? Is he going to compensate for anything? Should they push him depending on what these doctors are saying? And as you guys all know, I wouldn't blame any of you for not trusting what the Cubs medical staff or their front office or coaches say about medical information. They haven't exactly earned everybody's outright trust in that regard. So
comment here from KM, who are the starters versus the Cardinals to finish off this season? As far as I can tell, they have not been announced yet. So Colin Ray is due up. Jameson Tyone is due up. Maybe Javi Assad will pitch this weekend. We just haven't seen it yet. I know Corey probably is checking right now as I take this ad break, but I believe, and this is just me speculating, but part of me wonders before I do this ad break, what they're going to do with Tyone. Are they going to maybe like have Tyone come out of the bullpen just to simulate what could happen in the wild card series? So I was thinking about that. Let's take our ad break here, come back out and talk about this upcoming 3-game set and how they set up the pitching staff for the playoff series. Okay. Bet365, whatever the moment is never ordinary at Bet365. Right now, new customers get $200 off in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. You can score big this football season with Bet365's early payout offer. If your team goes up by 17 points, you're a winner instantly. Even if they don't cover, straight bets and parlays get paid out the moment you hit that mark. And when you're building parlays, Bet365 gives you a 100% parlay boost, doubling your potential winnings. And hey, Cubs fans, you are covered as well. If your team jumps ahead by 5 runs, your bet cashes right away with the MLB early payout offer, even if the Cubs blow that 5-run lead. Playoff season's right around the corner. Do not miss up. Sign up. Use code CHGO365. Deposit $10 and place a $5 bet to get $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Use your bonus bets as spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Bet365, whatever the moment. It is never ordinary. Must be 21 or over. If you have a gambling problem, click 1-800-GAMBLER. Bonus bets available in-app only. All right. If you're looking for the spot to catch your favorite games this season, we've got a place that checks all the boxes. It's chef-driven with elevated bar food that is locally inspired. They've got the best smash burger, and the tavern-style pizza is amazing. It is almost home tavern. It's not just about the food, though. They also have tons of games, including pool, darts, big buck hunter, and shuffleboard with wall-to-wall TVs. It is the perfect place for watching literally any sport. And the owners, they are CHGO diehard members and massive Bear fans. So yes, the Bears are repped hard there. So you're not just missing a thing, rain or shine, with all the different TVs. They've even got a covered beer garden with those TVs. Just a block north of Wrigley Field is the ideal pregame, during game, and postgame. They have daily specials and happy hour. That's actually worth your time. So go check out Almost Home Tavern.
Almost Home is great. Corner of Grace and Clark. Used to live over there. It's right across the street from the Obvious Shirt store. So one-stop shop. Get yourself, I guess, the hat I'm wearing. Then go eat some good food, have a beer.
I mean, it's literally fading out over there.
2021 maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's been in the sun a lot.
Looks like the Wrigley Field scoreboard in 2005.
All right. Did you have any more on Horton? I mean, I think, look, like this.
I mean, what do you want me to tell you? No, he's got rib inflammation.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately
your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, sounds like he got like an illness, and this is related to coughing or something. And we've all felt that. Unfortunately, you and I aren't asked to throw 80 competitive pitches to Manny Machado coming up. So,
but listen, I had rib soreness about a year ago on the show. If you go back in time in those March episodes, I'm sick as hell. I'm doing the show, So like Cade, I just
you're cutting it out. Yeah,
that's right.
You got to do what you got to do. Yeah. So, I mean, look, ultimately, like, we're discussing this now because we're on here for post game and this news came out today. I don't want to say it feels premature to be discussing, but they've given us some pretty clear, like, next steps that are going to greatly inform this, like how he feels when and after he throws tomorrow, how he feels when he recovers after throwing tomorrow, what this other doctor says. And, ultimately they're going to put that together and they're going to have to assess what the risk is. If he feels comfortable and like he can go out there and do his job, we already know, like, everything we know about him, he's going to tell them he's fine and that he wants to do it and he wants the ball. I think the biggest concern is just if they find something that they feel not even can get worse, but that he would be compensating for in his delivery, in his pitch mechanics, because that's how you start to develop bad habits.
Well, that's why he missed most of the 2024 season. He had a back scapula injury. So, all interconnected.
So not great, but it does sound like there's at least a chance that he is fine and good to go and will take the ball, which is obviously the situation that we're hoping for. But yeah, keep your eyes glued to that one. What a fun that and Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker taking swings. The report is that they're going to try to get him in there tomorrow and that he's going to be DHing, and we'll see what happens. I think it goes without saying, but even not at full strength, like just his presence there is a really big deal. Of course, you want him at full strength, even if not in the field, just as a DH. But especially in the playoffs, and we talked about this even when they brought him over, like having someone like Kyle Tucker in that lineup who you can rely on to give you good plate appearances, to take walks, even if the offense isn't going right, even if Tucker is not going right, he's still at his worst this season when everyone was freaking out, right, about, him post that hand injury. Like, he was still getting on base at one of the better clips on the entire team. And so having that presence in the lineup, full strength, able to run, able to field or not, it's a big deal. And it's, his presence in a playoff lineup is one of the reasons Jed Hoyer made such a big swing. And it's why over the years we've talked so much about needing that superstar in the lineup. You've watched so many of these guys ebb and flow between looking really great and looking completely lost at the plate. And Tucker, outside of when he was hurt, that doesn't happen. He's always stable and a really strong presence, and you need it there. Even in a decoy capacity, Brendan, like just having his name in that lineup, it means a great deal. So hopefully this weekend goes well. Obviously, the optimal outcome is that he looks like himself at the plate, and you're feeling like, okay, he's the DH. He's not going to field. We'll see what happens when he's on base, if he's got to go station to station, but that bat is there and it's back in this lineup.
I don't even know if a good 3-game stretch will make Cub fans happy. We saw Seiya Suzuki hit 2
We just
home
need
runs.
him healthy, dude.
That's right.
Yeah.
And even at Tucker's worst, during that huge slump in the month of August, his OBP was over 350.
Yeah.
Even if he's not at full 100% health, he's going to give you more than likely a high quality at bat. It may result in a walk, but at the very least, he'll see pitches.
Yeah. Well, and look, at this point, obviously the Padres are going to be aware that he's going through this. But 3 games, like, you have to pitch Kyle Tucker like he's Kyle Tucker, whether he looks like it this weekend or he's, feeling a ton of pain in that calf, whatever. They don't have to know all of that. They have to pitch him like he's Kyle Tucker and that he can take them deep and that he can be that 900 plus OPS hitter. And so that presence being there is a big deal. The lack of it, then they don't have to pitch to somebody like they're Kyle Tucker, right? So it's a big deal. Hopefully he's just healthy. That's all we can ask for, and then we'll see what happens when you play that wild card series. So let's move to some other rotation stuff. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, you can hear the language coming around. They want to give Cade Horton the ball. I don't think there's any, and you've watched Shota and Matthew Boyd over the last few weeks, like game 1, game 2, whatever they want to do. But in their optimal plan, I think it's pretty clear that Cade Horton is getting the ball in one of those. Now, we don't know. So we'll see what happens tomorrow and what the ultimate decision is with that. But let's transition to Shota Imanaga, Brendan. So Shota on Thursday, 5 2/3, 9 hits, 8 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, gives up 2 home runs. Certainly not at his best. And I think without, like, there's obviously a lot to talk about here in particular. I think the immediate concern, right, with Shota, the numbers sort of speak for themselves, like just in his last several starts. His last 15 starts, he's got a 4.3 ERA. His last 7 starts, he's got a 5.4 ERA. Even in, just his last 25 starts, 3.73 ERA. That's his ERA on the season. It's 25 starts. So certainly not what we saw from Shota, like, vintage Shota, like ERA leader, that type of vibe. But I think the big concern for Shota heading into the playoffs, a team like San Diego, he's giving up a lot of home runs. His home run rate has spiked in this second half. I think in the month of September, it's over 3 per game, 3 per 9. And even when he came over from Japan, part of the scouting report was that he gives up a lot of fly balls. And that was something that I remember even going to his first year, like, oh, Wrigley, we'll see. obviously in the years since, Wrigley has played much more as a pitcher's park at times. But going into the playoffs, like, you don't win or die by the home run ball, Brendan, but especially in these short series, like, it's very difficult when each team is emptying their pitching staff with the best that they have to offer and kind of maxing out to win, like, station to station, like racking up hits and just singling a team to death to put up crooked numbers, right? The big way to lose in these playoffs is you give up home runs. You
That's
have a
part of
bad
his
walk.
profile,
Yeah.
right? So if you look at what he did tonight, when you start giving up home runs from Shota, the first question I ask is, are they unique home runs served up? And the unique home runs he serves up are pitches that he mislocates. Are the fastballs low in the zone, or are the splitters left up, or are the sweepers left up? So it's really easy to answer. Let's go to the actual spray chart. This is what he looked like tonight. You don't need to be a genius to see a trend. See all that red and teal fastballs atop of the zone, splitters low and right in the zone. That's what you want to see from Shota. That is typically what he's shown for the past 2 years. Now let's look at the home runs he gave up. So the home runs he gave up are in red here. See that one home run top left? That's a pitch up in the zone, right? Not mislocated. See the other home run he gave up inside? Not mislocated. Both those pitches are on the edges, right? So the type of power he's giving up is not in the form of mislocated pitches. This is part of his profile, though. The reason that a lot of the times he has success is because he's a uniquely fastball splitter driven pitcher. Naturally, that lends to fly balls. Sometimes you get beat. That's just the name of the game. It doesn't mean he pitched bad tonight. I would chalk that one up as just one of the outcomes in his profile. It doesn't mean you can be optimistic about it, but that is always who he is. And it's always who he has been this year and dating back to last year.
Yeah, it is what it is. So Shota has actually given up at least one home run in every start he's made since August 5th, working backwards from tonight: 2 homers, 3 homers, 2 homers, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, and then 0 on the 5th against the Reds. So yeah, it's part of the game. Like I said, even when he came over from the NPB, it was part of the scouting report. Like, what will that home run per fly ball rate be? And that will be a big determination in whether he's successful at the MLB level or not. So I don't know how to feel, Brendan. I mean, obviously he's not pitching his best baseball. Those ERA numbers in those smaller, 7, 15 game samples sort of speak for themselves. But I do think regardless.
It's not egregious though. That's
no,
what
no.
I think it deserves nuance, because sometimes when you see those numbers, and just to push back, you see numbers in the home runs and you think, oh my God, he's looking completely different.
Yeah.
And the reality is he's not. Is he looking his best self? No. But what he did tonight, if you have the exact same game that he had tonight, more times than not, you're not giving up 6+ runs, not with that profile. It just so happened to occur tonight. So there is some middle ground there where he's not looking his best, yes, but it's not that bad. It's not out of the realm of what we've seen.
Yeah. And I think, really, I even just bring it up because I think it is one of those things where it's going to be interesting to see, I think this Padres lineup, and we'll get into the Padres specifically in the second half of the show after our second ad break here. But, their lefties are a better matchup for them from our perspective. But like I said, controlling the home run ball in the playoffs is a huge thing. And San Diego does have some of those hitters where, you have a bad walk and all of a sudden, right, like you give up a bomb to the wrong guy and it obviously changes the game. Very rarely in the playoffs, like I said, you see games always won by just racking up 15 hits and just constant hits with runners in scoring position. Like, big blows are often what decide a lot of these games. So if Shota takes the ball, like, the offense would probably disagree, but you might want the wind blowing in. But yeah, look, like we've seen a lot of starts from Shota too, where he does give up the home run ball, sometimes 2 or 3, but ultimately that's the only damage that's done. So that's the other exercise, is making sure you're not putting guys on base, making sure you're playing clean defense, not giving up any cheapies or anything like that. And then if, he does find himself still susceptible to the home run ball, hopefully there's solo shots and your offense is able to work around that. And that's also the area where, you go back to a play like PCA made on Juan Soto tonight. Like, that ball falls, gets in the gap, next guy hits it a little further. Now it's 2-0 versus 1-0. Like, it does really drastically impact things. So obviously I share the feeling, this isn't Shota's best stretch, but I remain still, confident in his ability to deliver a good start. What is my confidence in that right now? Probably not the same if you asked me 4 months ago, but he's had a lot of really good starts at the MLB level. He's a really cerebral guy. I expect him to prepare very well for this start against Padres, if indeed it is him, right? We obviously don't know that yet. But there's clearly parts of his game that are going to be pivotal in whether it's successful or not against this Padres offense.
Okay, so our second ad break here. Then we got more Padres talk. At Toyota's National Summer Sales event, we've got a long lineup of vehicles for fun. Hey, Cubs fans, Toyota has 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. The RAV4 has legendary versatility. The Grand Highlander's adult size third row is for real, and the Tacoma's wild side comes standard. From job sites to campsites and game nights, there's the all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive Toyota to get you there in style. You can find yours at Toyota.com or by visiting your Chicagoland Toyota dealer. And become a CHGO diehard and upgrade your fandom today. Get access to our exclusive written content, a free t-shirt, plenty of discounts on future merch and events, plus access to our CHGO Discord lounge where we all hang out and talk Chicago sports and so much more. Monarch Money, if you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch Money makes it simple. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that helps you feel organized and confident about where your money is going. And right now, just for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year. I've been using Monarch to keep a clear picture of my financial health. It's been huge for maximizing investments, boosting savings, and keeping everything just in one place. Week to week and long-term, I actually know what's going on with my money, and that's a game changer. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. You can link all your accounts in just minutes, get smart categorization of your spending, and see clean, easy to read visuals that make your finances make sense. I love those graphs. And don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code CHGO at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code CHGO.
All right, and Brendan, sometimes the most powerful thing in the world is just knowing you have someone on your team. Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America has been building that team for kids, one mentor at a time. And this month, CHGO is joining their team, and we're asking you to join us. Your donation directly funds the screening, training, and support needed to create a life-changing friendship between a big and a little. You can start something incredible right now. If you're watching on YouTube, you can donate through the button on our YouTube channel here, or you can visit bbbs.org/allcity to donate. We appreciate you joining CHGO in the support of Big Brothers, Big Sisters. All right, Brendan, back with you. And earlier tonight, we have a matchup. It is the Cubs and the San Diego Padres. We have a playoff series to look forward to. So for all of the, where's this guy at? Look, if you had told me 3 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, I guess, that Seiya nor PCA would have hit their 30th homer yet, I would be like, oh, what happened?
Who got injured?
What happened? And what do you mean Kyle Tucker's not even playing? And Cade Horton has a area of concern. I hate that phrase, but there's a lot going on. But regardless, two teams will get it together, and we still have to figure out where those games will be. Obviously, the Cubs have the advantage heading into this final weekend to lock that in. I believe a 1.5 game lead. Correct me if I'm wrong on that for home field.
Correct.
And well, no, it can't be 1.5 now.
2 games.
They all have 3 games left. Sometimes I get the math quick,
You got to count on your fingers.
Yeah. There's no half. So how do you feel? Just we'll get into some of the specifics, but gut check, like right off the jump. This is the first team the Cubs are playing in the playoffs since the Marlins in 2020. How do you feel heading into
I never feel good. What kind of question is that? Have I ever felt good going to a playoff series? Absolutely not. I'm a wreck.
No.
How do I feel? I feel awful. I feel absolutely awful. Are you kidding me? I'm exhausted watching this team. I've been exhausted watching the team for the past 25 years, Corey. How do I feel? Bad. But
isn't baseball fun?
It's so, I don't know why we do this to ourselves. I really don't. This is such a ridiculous sport to watch. At least for football, you kind of know where you are. With this, you have no idea. I will say, though, if you look at just how the Padres match up, if you want to paint the optimistic picture, we'll paint it. If you want to paint the pessimistic picture, we'll paint it as well. But optimistically, at the lineup we're facing, they struggle against off-speed pitches, changeups, and splitters. Boyd and Shota make their careers off changeups and splitters. So if you just go to Baseball Savant, you go to Manny Machado's homepage, you go to Fernando Tatis's homepage, you see, oh, wow, they have negative run production against changeups. That seems like a good sign. And then you start looking at their lineup. Well, who's going to bat in the top of the lineup? Well, Luis Arias, he's a lefty. Okay. Jackson Merrill, he's a lefty. So, you have the lefty handedness favoring 2 lefty pitchers for the Cubs, and their dominant pitch types tend to do okay, at least for this year, against the 2 righties, Tatis and Machado. That seems like a okay scenario to have. So if you want to paint the optimistic scenario, well, it's possible that the Cubs do match up well against the Padres from a pure position hitting standpoint.
Okay, well, and I'll ask you the reverse. How do these Cubs hitters match up against this Padres pitching staff? Before you do that, though, just to paint a picture, I don't know how many of our listeners are super familiar with what's going on out in San Diego. Right now, Padres 87-72. Home record 49-29, 5 games under 500 on the road, 38-43. Just some quick splits. 16-12 in the month of August. So far, they've been 500 in the month of September. Just obviously over the trees view of how they've been playing. 30-23 in 1-run games so far this year. The Cubs and Padres split a season series, both winning 3 games there. So just a general vibe check on the Padres. I would think, Brendan, if you had told their fans that the Dodgers were going to end up in the low 90s, they would be pretty disappointed to learn that they were not the one winning that division.
Right. And that's how weird this sport can be.
Yeah.
I can paint a favorable picture for the Cubs hitter matchups as well. The top 2 pitchers they'll be facing are likely Dylan Cease and Nick Pivetta. Likely Nick Pivetta game 1, likely Dylan Cease game 2. Nick Pivetta is what's considered the StatCast darling. He has that very heavy rising 4-seam fastball. He's got that heavy sweeper that goes the other direction, and he has a nose-diving curveball. What he does not have is a pitch that goes the other way. So let me paint you a picture. Let's say you have Kyle Tucker batting. The only pitches he can throw to Tucker are going to go inside to Tucker's kneecap or elevated up top of the zone. No changeups away. So when he faces Tucker, or let's say more specifically Pete Crow-Armstrong, he's going to be limited, and limited is a very limited word, no pun intended, but he's going to be limited by just a curveball and a 4-seam fastball to Pete Crow-Armstrong. He's not going to be throwing that sweeper, most likely, because just the handedness won't match up. What does Pete Crow-Armstrong do? He golfs curveballs out of the dirt, and he hits pitches over his head 400 plus feet. Like specifically, that is what he's done. If you look at all hitters this year, he has hit home runs against those pitches at the worst parts of the zone. So if there's a mistake pitch, or Pete is just buzzing like crazy with the playoff energy, well, he probably would be in tune with someone like Nick Pivetta. Pete may struggle with someone who has a changeup or someone who has made more of a tighter breaking pitch, like let's say like an Andrew Kittredge type. But that's not Nick Pivetta. So that would be the optimistic scenario. And Dylan Cease, you can also paint the same picture with him not having a changeup as well. So I do think just the one dimensionality of those two pitchers, which are they're very good, don't get me wrong, but the one dimensionality for a veteran savvy group might be favorable for the Cubs.
Okay. Well, we'll write that timestamp down. Sarah, you'll have to remember to clip that when PCA hits that homer, and then we'll claim that Brendan called it. So
he's probably going to go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So. And he's probably going to be getting sweepers after I said that because it's just not how the game works.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be interesting. I mean, overall, the Padres offense, I think in general has been fairly, middle of the pack, like WRC plus, they're 11th against left-handers. That OPS as a team is in the 680s, right around the middle of the pack. But against righties, like the OPS is higher, but their ranking amongst the rest of the league is lower.
So the reason for that, again, go to the Baseball Savant pages. Tatis hits breaking pitches, sliders, cutters, etc. Manny Machado, same thing, right? And fastballs as well. So their success this year has been driven in part because they're able to hit those tight breakers. That's not who Shota nor Boyd is.
Well, there you go. Should be an easy couple games sweep.
There you go. So it's going to be a no stress game.
No, I mean, look, I think ultimately, you can get into the, the nitty gritty of a lot of these matchups. And I think Brendan just did a very good job of kind of like painting the picture with some of these specific pitchers, some of the specific hitters. On a broad sense, like clearly we know this Padres team has dangerous guys in this lineup. Some of them have not played like it all year. I think Laureano going to be out. And we'll see where
I didn't know that.
We'll see where everybody's at, come the actual series and what the lineups are, et cetera, et cetera. But they obviously have some dangerous hitters in this.
He broke
lineup.
His hand. Yeah. I did not know that.
I try not to make stuff up. Typically. Wouldn't it be funny if I said earlier, like, don't speculate on injuries? But anyway, they've got dangerous guys. And in the playoffs, we've seen like sometimes your lineup can look a total mess. But if you get one guy hot or you get one guy that has that big swing at the right time, and the Padres do have those guys, there's some dangerous hitters in this lineup. And I think that is also going to key a lot of how Counsell manages these games. He's going to be very careful. When we talk about someone like Shota in particular, like I would not be surprised if they are hyper dialed in. He could throw 3 innings where he gives up 0 runs, but if the ball is flying off the bat,
here comes Jameson Taillon.
Yes,
so that's one of the advantages I think the Cubs also have over San Diego. Now, San Diego has a loaded back end of the bullpen, but after those 2 starting pitchers, Cease and Pivetta, well, you're kind of tossing up between Randy Vasquez, Darvish. Michael King has only pitched 70 innings this year. He's been awful. K per 9 at 5.5, and they don't have that reserve, right? So let's say Shota does get into some trouble. Well, okay, you can perhaps bring in Jameson Taillon. You can bring in Javi Assad. You can get from the 3rd inning to the 5th inning, and that is a reserve. It's a luxury that San Diego does not have. If they get in trouble, or if those guys' pitch counts, Pivetta and Cease, get risen up in the first 3 innings, that's the advantage to the Cubs. If they can win the game in innings 3 to 5, then they're most likely going to be in a good position by innings 6 through 9 to hopefully finish it off.
Yeah. So we talked about that a little bit, but I would prepare mentally for that. I know a lot of people don't like that.
Their bullpen is disgusting.
But they're going to monitor these starters, especially with how it's been going. Really, all 3 of them, like Shota, Boyd, have had their struggles over the last few weeks. Cade Horton, even if he does pitch, we have, to use it again, an area of concern that we're monitoring, in addition to how much he's over his inning limits, his pitch limits, and, or pitch thresholds, things like that. So Craig Counsell and Tommy Hotovy are going to be so locked in to when the right moment to pull these guys in. And I know there's going to be traditionalists that aren't going to like it. But like I said, Shota could look box score wise like he's rolling along. But if there's a bunch of warning track fly balls that are 102, 103 miles per hour, I guarantee you he's not facing Manny Machado or Fernando Tatis a third time.
No way.
Yeah, they're going to be hyper aggressive with that. You just have to prepare for that. And I don't, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, that's what you brought Craig Counsell in to do.
Correct.
And it would be different if he were making those moves with guys who were running hot and you felt legitimately like, yeah, they can go the third time through the order. There's no reason to overmanage. I think we've seen that there is. And so I would fully expect Craig to be wheeling and dealing a little bit as we watch these games. So let's hit our last ad break here, and then we're going to come back. We're going to continue talking about the Cubs and the San Diego Padres and how they match up for the wild card series.
Okay, there's nothing better than being at the ballpark, hearing the crowd, smelling the popcorn, feeling that energy when your team takes the field, but getting tickets, that can be a nightmare. Endless queues, random login screens, and prices that mysteriously jump right before checkout. That's why I love Game Time. It gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences with just a few taps. The app is super easy to use. Fees are included upfront, and the Game Time guarantee means you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. I'll be looking for Cubs playoff tickets on Game Time next week because I know in less than 2 minutes, I will find awesome seats at the best price, and I can use the seat view feature to check out exactly what the view looks like before I buy them. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that is code CHGO for $20 off. Tap, Ticket, Go. Download the Game Time app today. Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake is slashing prices on new cars and giving you big savings all month long. Come in today to shop the model year end sales event and drive home with employee pricing on every new Chevrolet model. You can get $3,000 to $11,000 off MSRP, or check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, you're sure to find the perfect vehicle for you. It is one of the top selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest. They're able to keep their prices competitive, so you know you'll get a great deal. Plus, Ray's Price Promise lets you shop confidently because the price you see is the price you pay. And do not miss out on their model year end sales event going on all month long for employee pricing on every new Chevrolet model. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. They have been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
All right, Brendan, let's talk a little bit about perhaps San Diego's biggest strength, and that is the back end of their bullpen. Obviously, Robert Suarez, and then they get Mason Miller at the trade deadline. And, that's not necessarily it, but that is a pretty lethal combination there. And Mason Miller, obviously has been fantastic. Yeah. So that just sort of sets the table for one of the keys of this. We've dealt obviously in a 3-game series or potentially 2-game series, for one of these teams in game 2, like you're going to empty what you have. You're going to lean very heavily, if you're the Cubs, on guys like Brad Keller, Andrew Kittredge, Daniel Palencia, seems to be feeling good, looking good. Caleb Thielbar, despite giving up the home run the other night, you're going to lean on who you feel are your best guys.
Would you trust Palencia in like 8+ inning leverage at this point? Would you personally?
I don't know. I don't know that they're going to have a choice. I mean, it depends on how these games go, but if you have enough innings to cover, I don't know.
Is the 8th inning, is Kittredge or Palencia? Who are you picking?
I think you've got to go Kittredge right now. I mean,
isn't that? I think
you have to. Yeah.
Our lives kind of suck, don't they?
Just a little bit. Time for such an injury. You know what I mean? Like, and he was already making some adjustments. Like it's tough to feel the confidence, but
closer.
There's also the outcome where, they fire up Gasolina in October at Wrigley Field in a playoff game. He experiences an adrenaline rush unlike any human being in the history of the world. Yeah. And I mean, he's pumping 105 and, here we go. So I don't know. but we've certainly played teams like this in the past. This is not necessarily the 2016 Cleveland Indians, who the Cubs did overcome in that World Series.
When they won the World Series?
Yeah.
The
And
Cubs.
famously, Andrew Miller, being deployed like a very serious weapon, ultimately gives up a home run to David Ross in the final plate appearance of his career.
Yeah.
But, I digress.
To win the World Series.
Yes.
Yeah.
The trick, though, is like, especially in a 3-game series or 2-game series, like I said, you don't want to be trailing late. You do not want to give the Padres an opportunity to condense the game. So scoring early, getting runs off of those starters is going to be pivotal to the Cubs' success. Now, some of that sounds like, well, yeah, obviously scoring runs early is probably going to help. But you really don't want to get into those middle, late innings trailing against this team. Or these guys aren't unhittable, but it's an uphill battle. And in such a short series, you can expect the Padres to play it very aggressively. Like looking at Suarez and Miller in particular, just those two, like neither of them are routinely going more than an inning. They've, 1 1/3, 1 2/3 every now and again. But you never know, right? Like, do they get in an opportunity if they win game 1 and they have a lead going into the 7th in game 2? Like, never know. Maybe they give the ball to Mason Miller and they say,
fine.
Get us to Milwaukee. Like, you go take it. You never know. So it's pivotal. And we've seen it so much with these Cubs, like putting guys on base, struggling with things like that and getting those runs in or getting runs in from third, those things, all of those things in the playoffs, obviously hyper magnified. You've got to take advantage when you have their pitchers on the ropes because you have to assume that at some point they are going to bring in pitchers that are very difficult to string hits and walks and runs together against. So that is I would say clear advantage San Diego back into the bullpen and the ability to potentially shut down a very close game. But we'll see.
I would say advantage Cubs first 5 innings, advantage San Diego last 4 innings. That's what I would say. So if you win the game up front, then you put yourself in a position to avoid that disaster. You get to the 5th inning and you're down by 1 to 2 runs. I'm feeling exactly how I felt in that World Series, knowing Andrew Miller was coming out of that bullpen. I'm freaking out. So you have to get those runs in early.
And look, it's never to say that it's impossible, right? It's just a daunting task.
Mason Miller has a 17K per 9 this month. 17.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. It's not like the Cubs offense strikes out a lot sometimes.
That's unbelievable.
Not a concern. Brendan.
Unbelievable.
So that's sort of a general breakdown. Again, we have to see how these teams are going to line things up. The Cubs rotation is clearly quite in flummox right now. I can't tell you who's going to pitch these 2 games. Certainly it's between those 3 games. If Cade Horton can't go, I think it's pretty, I would say clear. I think that it would be Boyd, Shota, and Jamison Tyone getting that 3rd opportunity. And obviously if Horton's in there, I would guess they try to get him in there in either that 1st or 2nd game, but some pretty big what ifs there.
It is weirdly lined up because Boyd pitched Wednesday. So Thursday, I'm going to count my fingers for you. Thursday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's 5 days rest for Boyd, right? You can put Shota on a normal schedule, right? And then he can pitch on Tuesday, game 1, and have Boyd get the extra day of rest if he's feeling fatigued. It is weird how they lined it up like that. You would think they would line up for like a normal routine, but they didn't do that. Unless they always intended for Shota to pitch game 1. Then that makes the most sense.
Perhaps. And then, again, obviously with Cade Horton, a big question mark. If he's good to go, I expect them to give him the ball, but we'll find out more on Friday. Kyle Tucker. It's a weird series to preview, Brendan, because we're sort of like, well, I don't know who's playing. I don't know.
We've done series previews in the playoffs, many times back in the day, 10 years ago, back in the day. Every preview we did never turned out how it happened.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's strange. The playoffs are its own beast. So,
That's right.
last few minutes here, like, what do you think? If you had to tell me, like, looking at, like, let's say we're feeling confident, Kyle Tucker will be in there, like Cade Horton's going to pitch, like things are equal. What do you think the biggest key in this series is for the Cubs to win?
Mistake pitches. So the reason that Pete has struggled in the second half is he's not hitting the mistake pitches. So if you're able to hit the mistake pitches, you can live with some of the regression or reversion you've seen. But if you get that curveball in the zone from Nick Pivetta, you've got to capitalize on that. We've seen recently in the past week, Pete has done that a little bit more, not to the tune that we like to see, but just a little bit more. We've seen Seiya do that today, hitting a mistake pitch, that slider in the 5th inning that he hit for a second home run, mistake pitch. So that's the same type of sweeper that you see from Nick Pivetta, same movement profile. Now, different pitches, but same movement profile. You hit those mistake pitches, then you set yourself up where you avoid the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th inning, 9th inning disaster zone with that bullpen.
Okay.
And they have the ability to do that. This team is boom or bust, this Cubs team. We've known that. So you hit those mistake pitches, and there you go.
Yeah, and I think it sort of pairs well, but I think the key for me, and again, some of this stuff sounds obvious when you say it, but I even if they're going to go down, I would like to see this team play clean baseball.
Shut up. They go down, doesn't matter.
Well, yeah,
that's
true.
They can play the cleanest game of all time.
No. But it just has been frustrating throughout parts of the year, as we've talked about in the beginning of the year, like pristine defense, taking pitches, running up pitch counts, really good on the bases, really good decisions in the field. There's just been so many stretches or games smattered in there where they're not communicating in the outfield. They're getting thrown out at home. Their approach looks terrible against a guy with the worst K rate in the league. Like, it sounds simple, but like this team, it is boom or bust, but they're also capable of playing just a much cleaner brand of baseball than they play at all times. And you can't do that in the playoffs. And you can't do that against a team that has as many weapons as the Padres do. So
they just had a great offensive performance against Paul Skeens, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, worked his pitch count up in the 4th or 5th inning, got him out of the game. They have the capacity to
100%.
The playoffs are about capacity. It's not about who's hot. It's not about who's cold. It's about the randomness that you wake up that day and fielding a team where you have a super high potential profile. That's what won the Dodgers a World Series, even though they made the playoffs 10 previous years. It's what won the Cubs World Series in 2016. Fortunately, they won that World Series at the start of that brief window. Baseball is always going to be like this. You can be the absolute best, but you can make the playoffs 10 times in a row, win one World Series. That's more than likely what happens to all these teams.
Yep. And sometimes, a game comes down to Javi Baez moonshot that barely gets into the basket because the wind is blowing in, and that's the only ball that anyone was able to hit all night, right? So it's a bit of a crapshoot, but hopefully one that the Cubs can win. And as we've said, like their ceiling is there. If we came back to you guys next week and we were talking about a couple game series with San Diego where Michael Busch and PCA and Carson Kelly and Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki were driving the offense and slugging like they were in April and May.
None of us would be surprised.
It's not crazy. It's certainly not something we've seen together in a decent amount of time, but we've seen it. They did it for months at a time.
And you can say the opposite if they come back out and score no runs. Well, 100%. That's not a surprise either.
Yeah, and look, like 100%. We could be talking about, like, just like you said, they got a bunch of hittable pitches in the zone. They didn't hit any mistakes. Like they're all just off. Like it wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah. So, all right. I think we can wrap up. Well, we'll do like a couple minutes of overtime because I'm not ready to wrap up in the next 30 seconds. So we're going to hit overtime here. So make sure if you're watching, head over to YouTube. We'll wrap it up on the fast channels here. and we'll hit overtime. I think just a couple minutes, but we'll see what Brennan and I
It's
have
getting late
here
over
on
here,
the
you know? It's
CHGO
past
Cubs
my
YouTube
bedtime.
channel. All right, back with you in overtime. I just want to ask you, Brennan, like, you're going to hate me for asking this, right? But
Probably.
it's just what people do on podcasts and shows. Like,
Oh God.
what do you think happens here?
What do I think happens here? I'm so biased, man. I've seen
In
all
what
the
way?
nonsense.
Does your pessimism like outweigh the bias, or does your optimism?
It's it's always the optimism. It's so stupid. Like, but I will fluctuate, right? Like I fully convinced myself that Pete Crow-Armstrong's going to hit a curveball off the dirt for a home run. Like I fully convinced myself. I know it's the dumbest thing to say, right? But I can tell you this for sure. Once that first pitch crosses home plate, I'm done. I think the Cubs are already lost. I just fluctuate like crazy. But what do I think is going to happen here? I do think the Cubs have the slight advantage. Objectively, the slight advantage. But at the same time, I just don't think that matters. What about
Talk
you?
about a non-answer, folks. I mean, that was a lot of words to end up saying nothing.
I just told you, push comes to shove. I think the Cubs are in a better position than the Padres. What do I think happens? I think they're going to win the series, right? Now, that's a dangerous thing to say. And the reason I'm kind of copping out, because I don't want to emotionally destroy myself. I got to protect my mindset, Corey.
But you said it, though. There's no level of protection. We can do that now. Even if I was like, I don't think they have it, I think they're going to lose, which is not what I'm saying, right? The second the first pitch comes across the plate, my heart is in my stomach. I can barely eat or sleep. Like, it doesn't matter what I say right now.
I will say this. I love Shota. I don't like watching fly ball pitchers in playoff scenarios.
It's tricky.
It gives me a lot of anxiety. That's why I loved Jake Arrieta, because he was a ground ball guy. He threw four-seam fastball, sinkers, cutters, that sharp hook. I knew that the fly ball was less likely. That's why I love John Lester too. That backdoor cutter, beautiful stuff, right? Fly ball pitchers naturally just scare the absolute hell out of me.
Yeah. Look, it's dangerous, right? And I bring up that like Lester Cueto example. Like, that's one of those nights where it's very difficult, obviously, to hit a home run. Javi clearly hit that ball 800 feet and it barely got out of there.
Was the wind blown in that night? We never even talked about that. Like, how did that ball not go to Waveland?
Well, I mean, isn't that the answer?
I don't know. You were there. I couldn't tell if the camera view screwed me over.
I'm like blacked out, as if I remember any of that. Yeah, I'm like.
I mean, I literally did black out that night, but
But it's a good example of like sometimes like you get in these environments where the pitchers are just on their game and the environment makes it very difficult to hit. And yeah, that's going to be the concern with Shota, is that a couple of mistakes that get hit in the air like that, like they can really change the game if it's not an otherwise hitting environment for both teams. So the long ball plays a pretty big role in October. These are short games, everything's condensed, and it's definitely going to be something to watch.
Well, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I mean, I hate that. Going back to how we've been talking about it, you start, we're obviously watching this, from the minute last season ends, it's the 2025 season for us. And we're looking at rumors, we're looking at free agents, we're looking at all this stuff. And I think back to like, the Kyle Tucker trade, the saga. And
this feels like the longest season we've covered. Am I right about that? It just feels longer than usual.
Literally it is, because it started in early March. I mean, technically.
Like it's like crazy. It's like 2 seasons.
Well, and you just have you're coming off of a retool, right? Like, it's been a while since the Cubs have been in this position. 2 years winning 83 games, one missing the playoffs by just a game, the other missing it by several games. And so it's felt like a journey to get to this point, to where the Cubs are back and making the playoffs. I know they didn't win the division. I know they did not like accomplish every goal, right? But it has felt like it's been a journey to get here. And so I think the first thing I think is like, there's a reason you want to win the division. There's a reason you want that bye. And it sucks to start a season at 5 a.m. in mid-March, and then to be here now knowing that it all comes down to 2 or 3 games against a really good Padres team, like a team that obviously has very serious aspirations and came in not necessarily as a favorite, but like someone in the conversation in the National League. And so it sucks that it all comes down to that. It does not come down to whether this team can show up in a long series and kind of show their muster. It comes down to 2 games. And we're sitting here watching Kyle Tucker take batting practice in an empty Wrigley Field, praying that he's able to take the field on Tuesday and waiting for MRI results from a second physician for Cade Horton. So in that regard, I don't feel good. It would obviously
at least you're going to a second physician so soon, instead of 2 months later. But
yeah, I suppose that's nice.
Yeah.
Progress. Yeah, upgrades, people, upgrades. But overall, like I'm excited that they're back in the playoffs, and I think they can beat this Padres team. I mean, I think that they can beat any team in this field. Certainly there would be matchups that I would not be as confident in, and I would feel like they obviously need to play their best baseball that they've played in 4 months at this point in order to beat them. But yeah, this Padres team is flawed. Like there's a reason that their podcasts are having the same conversation we are, like that they didn't win the division. Like I said, they're like terror. They're horrified. If I told you the Dodgers were going to win 91 or 92 games and the Padres weren't winning that division, like that would make people in San Diego sick. If the Dodgers aren't winning 103 games, they better be winning that division.
Right?
So like I think that they're a flawed team. This Cubs team can beat them like everybody else. I wish that the Cubs were playing better baseball. I wish that they hadn't been playing like this for the last few weeks, but ultimately come Tuesday, it doesn't matter. Whether it's a day, I mean, if it's the Dodgers and the Mets, am I wrong to think the Cubs are going to get stuck in like the middle of the afternoon because they want Soto and Ohtani in prime time?
That just can't happen. I'm going to get fired.
It's going to happen to you.
That can't. Baseball's got to figure out their schedule.
Have your PTO loaded, everybody. You may need to take off.
I mean, like, can someone Major League Baseball make sure that playoff games are at night? I mean,
there
what
might
are we
be 4
doing
games
here?
on some of those days. They can't have everybody playing at the same time.
This is not my problem. Figure out the schedule. Start it 3 days early.
Sounds like it sounds like it's directly your problem.
Actually. Well, it is my problem, but it's everyone else's problem. You want to watch a game at 2 p.m? I'm so sick of doing that. I had to watch it.
I laid groundwork with my boss. I'm like, listen, I haven't worked here since the Cubs have been in the playoffs. You're about to meet a new person, so just get ready for that. And I don't think they get it, but I warned them at the very least. So I'll be there. Yeah, I mean, I look forward to it. Look, as we've said, like we can look at the matchup, we can look at how the season fared, and there'll be an entire offseason to talk about the season and all this other stuff. But this is the last time you're going to hear from Brendan and I before the playoffs start. Like Cubs are in the playoffs. That's all that matters. I don't care how we got there. I don't care what happened in these 162 games. We can talk about that another time. We can talk about Jed. We can talk about Tom Ricketts. We can talk about the Kyle Tucker, if they're going to extend him. We can talk about all of these things. But for the next however long they're alive, none of it matters. What matters is that the Chicago Cubs are in the playoffs, and starting Tuesday, every game is live or die. Every game, there may not be a tomorrow, and that's what we do it for. That's what we're here for, is to watch them try to win a championship, and most of the league is not going to get that shot, and the Cubs are going to have that shot. So we'll see who's taking the field, we'll see who's healthy, and we'll see whether they show up. But as we talked about, like even when they clinch, Brendan, like I am very excited to see, even if it's only a few games, like Nico Horner play in the playoffs, Ian Happ play in a playoff series in front of a real like Wrigley Field crowd, like where he is a centerpiece of the team. To see Kyle Tucker, like they traded a lot for Kyle Tucker. People have relitigated that every other day, and they're going to continue to do it for the rest of our lives because they insist on it, right? But they're in the playoffs. Like, hopefully he's going to be able to play. It seems likely, at the very least, he'll be able to DH. But, like, that's why you take those swings, man. Like, ultimately, the goal is to win a championship. But you take those swings and you do all of this to get a seat at the table and a ticket to the dance. And that's what they have. What they do with it, we'll see what happens next week.
Give me your prediction.
For the whole thing or the Padres?
You think they're going to beat the Padres in the series?
I think they're going to beat the Padres.
See, this is why you and I are sick. You know, this is why we're sick. We can have 70 minutes about freaking out about this team, you know, and then at the very end, oh yeah, we're going to beat the Padres. I mean, you know what I mean.
Well, and, you know, look, I mean, I think that's ultimately where it comes down to. And, you know, part of the struggle with, you know, some of these guys being hurt and whatever, like, was this a perfect season for the Cubs? No, of course not. Right.
No.
But this was a really good regular season. Like there was some flaws and, you know, periods. You know, look, I'd be lying to you guys if I said this last month of Cubs baseball was really enjoyable. Like, I love watching them score 2 runs a game.
Well, I learned a lot about medicine in this past month. I'm a calf expert now. Okay.
Yeah, I got back, calf. What was the thing in Tucker's hand in the first place? Like
a fractured thumb.
Yeah,
I believe
I know all about it. Yeah. So it hasn't been a perfect season, but it's been a really good one. And, you know, I think for as much as we want this franchise to make us feel like the good ones aren't as unique, right? Like that they're in a place like the Dodgers where they're just constantly winning the division and we're just enjoying all of these seasons. Hopefully a championship gets thrown in there every now and again. Like, that hasn't been our reality. Like, the World Series window was not as long as we all wanted it to be. It didn't produce another one. Then
did it produce one of them?
It did produce one of them, which is all that matters.
Sure.
So
just making sure.
It did produce one of them, unlike a lot of other windows that have existed. So, but yeah, like, it's been a while. Like, and you and I, even in our life, I know, you know, there's folks older than us listening to this episode for sure who have had it worse. It doesn't necessarily get better as you draw the timeline longer. But, you know, you and I, like, in our life, it's not like they make the playoffs every year or every other year. It's been fairly inconsistent throughout even just our lifetime. So I'm going to savor that environment. I love the feeling of, you know, being near Wrigleyville and walking over to the ballpark, crisp, late September, early October, afternoon, evening, and knowing that they are playing playoff baseball at beautiful historic Wrigley Field. There is almost nothing like it. And
there is nothing like it.
I'm excited for it. So, perfect season? Of course not. Not by any means, but it's been a really good one. And it's a bummer that it is going to come down to 2 or 3 games against a very game opponent. But such is life. That's what we have for you. I believe we will have more information for you as far as overall coverage from the CHGO Cubs team, Luke and the boys. So keep it posted on CHGO Cubs socials for more information on what the plan is for post games, you know, any watch alongs, anything like that for your postseason coverage. We'll have an update for you there. And candidly, I'm not sure when Brendan and I will speak to you again. They might be playing a week from tonight. So I don't know. We'll keep it posted. Check our socials. We'll let you guys know. This won't be the last time that we speak to you. Obviously, this season, there is a Friday 120 Club, the final of the year, maybe an impromptu one. I mean, they're not going to play at 1:20 in the afternoon in the playoffs.
Well, you never know with Major League Baseball.
Yeah. But so if you're there, you guys know the drill. Pregame at Murphy's. See you in the left field bleachers. Just, I think, a little bit in front of where one Anthony Vincent Rizzo decides to sit in the bleachers. So kind of, you know, the 120 Club area, kind of Rizzo approved, Rizzo certified, I suppose. So certainly won't be the last time we talk to you this season, but it'll be the last time we talk to you before something happens to the Chicago Cubs against the San Diego Padres. So I'll use this time now to say sincerely, we appreciate you guys listening to us. Brendan and I have been talking Cubs with each other for a long time, and we appreciate you joining us in that. It's been a while since we've covered playoff baseball, but more than anything, I think if you learn something from our conversations, that's great. If you agree, disagree, that's all part of it. But if you take away nothing else, I do hope it's clear that Brendan and I absolutely love this team. And them playing in the playoffs is what we live for. We're right in there with you guys. And so whenever we talk to you guys next, hopefully it is breaking down their NLDS opponent and talking about a wild card series
already
win.
Exhausted.
But listen, it's the playoffs. Go Cubs. We're all in this together. And this is what we have been, this is what we've been building towards. This is what we all want to see. So enjoy these last few games. There is a little bit of consequence, right? They need to win a game to make sure that they're playing at Wrigley Field. So it's not all without consequence, but enjoy this weekend of mostly stakes and stress-free. But I say that as everyone's going to wake up and read MRI reports on Cade Horton. It's not stress-free at all.
We have no stress-free whatsoever. Until even you clinch that home field, it's not going to be stress-free. Shut the hell up over there.
It's absolutely not stress-free.
Yeah, enjoy your stress-filled weekend and your stress-filled next week, you bunch of losers.
But yeah, man, I mean, this is what we do it for. So I'm as big of a psychopath, I think, as most people have met once the Cubs are in the playoffs. And a lot of people in my life haven't met that person yet. So,
boy, we're going to have a conversation. Let me tell you that.
Kudos to everybody. What is it not normal that people listen to a 9-minute Tool song before the game starts and don't talk to anybody?
Are those the same headphones you did in 2016 too? Those same ones you got in right now?
Probably.
Oh my God. You got to update your headphones, man. What are we doing here?
Won a championship.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that.
That is fair. Yeah.
I'll give you, I got no response.
Anyway, we'll wrap it up there. We appreciate it, you guys. It's been fun. It's obviously gets very serious now.
Serious.
But enjoy it. Be nervous. This is what we do it for. We've spent many Octobers only watching teams we don't like and rooting for them to lose, or just watching other players on the biggest stage get talked about while we're looking ahead to Cubs convention and the rumors and the free agency. And the Cubs are in the dance this time. So let's see how they show up against the San Diego Padres. Let's hope they win a playoff series. I can't wait to be at Wrigley Field in an electric atmosphere amongst the Wrigley faithful watching playoff baseball. So we'll figure out when we will talk to you again soon. But we appreciate it. We appreciate your support. And as we head into the playoffs, folks, more than ever, as always, go Cubs.
We all silly like the mayor.